Oh, it's time. Time to get radical.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to Radical Comment of the Week for September 6th through September 12th, 2021. These are the very best comments from that time period, starting out with the honorable mentions. We got MBK Silent, Hooded Farmer, and Anonymous 91. The bronze medal comes to us from Rusty Shackelford. During my graduate program, I took a course on addiction, which talked about a wide range of addictions like drug, alcohol, gambling, etc. For our final project, we had to talk about a particular addiction with a specific population. My partner and I chose Japanese and intercourse pleasure addiction. It was interesting to see how addicted Japanese people are to intercourse/pleasure. The addiction is so bad that they actually tried to downplay with the anime, censoring of private parts, toys, etc. It was insane to learn about all this. After the presentation, we had a class discussion and my professor brought up how the adult industry is actually the leader of technology and how they are the first to experiment with new technology that doesn't go out to the public years down the line. He then brought up the intercourse robots and how the adult industry has been testing it out for years, and now we have these out available to the public. It's weird to think that we had intercourse robots before robots who could perform daily routines. What makes this worse is that I also read an article during research for the presentation about how scientists were experimenting with an artificial womb to create a baby. I forgot what animal they tested it on, but I remember it being a fairly big animal and not a rat. So it's almost scary to me that we have robots that can perform intercourse and have scientists experimenting with artificial wombs because at some point, someone is going to create a robot that can practically reproduce. That's scary. That sounds like the makings of a sci-fi movie right there, Rusty. And it's kind of weird that we seem to we've created robots to actually help, get people off before actually, helping with basic things. Also reminds me of like how a lot of technology comes from, war. How we build all this technology basically for the purpose of going to war with other countries, which, you look at war in the big spectrum. Sure, there's sometimes bad things happening in other countries and, you got to step in and sometimes help fix those things. But let's be honest here. Mostly war through the generations is because people want more land. It's about land expansion. It's about power. It's basically a, dick measuring contest. Most of all wars are dick measuring contests, so artificial wombs, that's pretty scary stuff. Robots that can reproduce. I wonder how that would really work. I'm thinking about it. Maybe like you build something that can maybe have a timer and expand over time. I'm thinking about it. Like maybe you build a robot that literally expires at maybe 90 years. But we're far off from creating like artificial life. I think of like Data from Star Trek. But all this is just very scary to think about. So I'm glad that I'll be dead and gone before we get to the time to where scientists are actually trying to essentially really play God. And we have all these, and you said there's already robots that's actually jacking people off. Hey, I'm not, listen, I don't care. No. Okay, I'm not having a robot with robot grip, doing that, if that's what these robots do. I'm assuming it's just robots that have entrance points and everything. But even then, like, what if the machinery locks up? Okay, machines are cold, you gotta, it's hard to create a soft. Okay, moving on to the next comment. We have the silver medal going to Lance. Here's a niche, not well-known market that is actually very expensive to get into. Sorry, I had no idea I was featured in 2 comment cuts, Rick. I have been busy and nearly forgot about the channel. Anyways, pinball machines. I switched to arcade machines, currently own 5 Mortal Kombat, 1 and 2, both dedicated 4 slot Neo MVS. Capcom Big Blue, which Arcade 1-Up recently came out with their own, Power Drift, and Shinobi. Don't want to get off topic, pinball machines are very costly these days, especially the ones that are considered not rare, just popular from pin collectors. A good example is the Addams Family pin machine. Came out around the time of the original movie based off that first film. That machine today is about $7 to $8 grand. It was $2,000 back in the day, I'd say 2008, 2009. Old pinball machines from the late 70s, like my father's, who owns a Dracula pin, he had picked it up for $1,200. Forget it if you want a newer pin from the last 10 years. Those are brutal, could cost anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000. People spend their hard-earned money on these things, and I'm not even sure to consider them a video game. I don't think they are, but semi-related. Basically, when it comes to pinball machines, the later the year, the more they cost. There are variables at play that add the cost. If it has multi-ball, a DMD screen, multiple ramps, and other features like that, so even a mediocre one from the early 80s could cost a minimum $2,000 depending on what it has. Forget it if you want a modern one in 2020. A company, I don't remember the name, but it's a machine based off Halloween the movie. Looks awesome. They also did the original Ghostbusters themed pin. They're being produced limited quantities, are about $7,000. I believe from the company making them, the Halloween one looks great, but if you miss your chance to get one now, these are going to most likely skyrocket in price very quickly, unless they decide to release a second run of these machines in the future. The Ghostbusters one I mentioned last, I looked into it, if I remember correctly, it's from 2013 and runs about $14,000. My Neo Geo 4-slot MVS was only $1,200, and my future machines, I don't go over $1,000 a piece. I don't understand how pinball's so costly. All that money to hit a ball around a field. Yeah, I had no idea that pinball machines were this costly. You said $14,000 for the Ghostbusters one from 2013? Is it because there's very limited amounts of these made? Like, how many was made of that Ghostbusters one? I mean, you can make an argument that it should be more valuable than a video game because, well, it's an actual machine. Like, it's an actual real machine. It's not just a piece of plastic with a, circuit board inside of it. So you can make an argument, okay, these rare pinball machines should be rarer than stadium events or whatever. But that's still insane to look at the pricing of this stuff. Speaking of the Addams Family, I saw a promotion for Addams Family Movie 2, the animated one, and the animation just is terrible. Like, that's supposed to be Fester. I don't know. I just can't get into animated movies where the characters look so terrible. I mean, it just looks terrible. Like, I don't know. I just wanted to throw that in there because you brought up Addams Family. And I'm just at a loss here because I've never owned a pinball machine. I've played pinball machines. Like, me, I would rather play a physical pinball machine than a virtual one because there's a different feel. Some people say that, well, there's a difference between actually playing a game this way online or the real genuine article, but actually there's a real different feeling that you get when you're playing an actual pinball machine. So I guess I get how you can't replicate that experience, kind of like an air hockey table. Like, you can't replicate, grabbing the whatever you call the thing you hit air hockey puck with, and the machine, like the air coming on. You can't replicate that in a video game form. But when it comes to these prices, I don't know. Anyone that's a specialist in collecting pinball machines or knows more about this? I'm just at a loss, Lance. You had the silver medal comment, but I'm kind of at a loss when it comes to pinball machines. Thank you, Lance. Now we get to the shiny gold medal, and guess who it is? Yeah, it's actually Rusty Shackelford again. Rusty was tearing it up this week. Tearing it up. And as per the rules, there's no limit to the amount of medals or mentions someone can get in a given week. It just comes down to the best comments. Rusty Shackelford says, recently attended Dynamite and Rampage. I have to say the atmosphere is drastically different than attending a WWE event like Raw, pay-per-view, or even an NXT takeover. I also ordered and saw All Out, and I will say it was probably the best pay-per-view I have seen in quite some time. It's evident that Tony Khan is very passionate about AEW and is willing to go out of his way to boost the product with recent acquisitions like CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, baby! It's also clear the talent are passionate as well and are willing to put their heart into it with creativity from characters to matches to storytelling. Look at Malachi Black. Malachi? Okay. Malachi Black. Look at the match between the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers from All Out. Look at the feud between MJF and Chris Jericho. There's a feel to all of this that the WWE seems to be losing. With all this in mind, Mick Foley is right in saying that WWE has a problem, but AEW also has a problem as well. I've said it once and I'll say it again. But if AEW continues to acquire big-name talents and favors those big-name talent, at some point they're going to hit a crossroads. Their younger talent might start to feel neglected and leave. Some of the big stars might feel like they aren't getting anywhere themselves and leave. I can't recall if this happened with WCW because I was young, but it happened with TNA, and it even happened with WWE not too long ago when they went out on a spending spree a few years back locking up big name talent to big contracts, and look what happened. People started getting lost in the shuffle. Unless these guys are willing to just go to AEW in order to stick it to the man, at some point AEW might end up being in a difficult position itself, and they will realize they have a problem. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if WWE is letting talent go for this very reason. They've been around for a decade and have seen competition rise and fall, so they probably have an idea of what works and what doesn't. They probably realize they can take the chance of letting go of all the talent to the competition, knowing that it may one day implode on the competition and the same talent just comes walking back. I'm sure some of the talent is very aware of this, which is why some don't disrespect WWE when they leave. After all, we've seen plenty of people talk smack about WWE, only to end up being back there, and it's quite a long list. Sure, Tony Khan is the co-owner of an NFL team and soccer team, so he is definitely rich, and AEW will be in good hands. But keep in mind that WWE is making billion-dollar deals with two major networks with NBC and Fox. WWE made a $5 billion deal with Fox for SmackDown for 5 years, and they recently landed another $5 billion deal with NBC to bring the WWE network to NBC's Peacock. So WWE is in pretty good hands itself and won't be going anywhere anytime soon. So sure, WWE has a problem, but if AEW keeps going in the direction they're going, they may just up being a problem themselves. I guess it's the idea of, you can only take in so much. Like you can only have so much. I don't think AEW is at that point, though. I think they still, worst case scenario, maybe they can, and I don't follow the product, maybe they split their stars between different shows. Worst case scenario, maybe they split it between different shows. Maybe they have two belts once they get too big. I don't think they should go on that route right now. But I guess you could make an argument that if they keep letting these stars go, then a lot of these other stars, like MJF, for instance, who has been feuding with Jericho, might feel lost in the shuffle. And then they might even get a little jealous that, people are paying attention to Bryan Danielson and CM Punk and whatnot. I could see a possible jealousy that comes from that. But not right now. I don't hear about a lot of locker room problems and everything like there. It seems like a really fun work environment. I watched All Out. I think All Out was one of the best pay-per-views I've seen in years. And it comes down to basically giving the fans what they want. It's a simple concept. Give the fans what they want. We had, I think it was a very good, some people didn't really like it. I think it was a great match. I thought it was a very good match between CM Punk and Darby Allin. A bit slow paced for my taste, but still not a bad match at all. Then you had a great closing match with Christian Cage, whatever he calls himself right there, for the artist formerly known as Christian and Edge from WWE, and Kenny Omega. And that was a very good match. That was entertaining. Probably the most entertaining match, though, for me on that pay-per-view was MJF and Chris Jericho. And it's all about storytelling. I think Jericho can still get in there. He can still have a great match. He can still storytell. He's not he's not the same Chris Jericho that he was years ago because, age is catching up with him a little bit. But you look at that card, you're like, okay, on these future cards, they're going to have Jericho, they're going to have MJF, they're going to have the Lucha Brothers, they're going to have the Young Bucks, they're going to have like all this freaking talent. And I could get how your argument is that if they keep feeding these WWE guys in there, then some of these other people can get lost in the shuffle. Well, that's why you want to make sure to actually just mix in all the stars with each other. And then if you have some of these ex-WWE guys actually lose the matches, then that I think might help fix the problem. Like I could see it if they have these guys come in and they're just almost untouchable. And eventually CM Punk will lose a match, but I don't think it'll be for a while. So in closing, I do think I agree with Mick Foley that WWE does have a problem right now, but AEW could have a problem in the future if they keep bringing in this talent and don't integrate that talent into the program and have nothing to do with that talent. But I think currently they're successfully integrating CM Punk and Bryan Danielson into the show to great effect. Also, Adam Cole. So how far are we away from they're just like having an overabundance of talent? And there is such a thing to where, like you said, you have so much talent, you have nothing really to do with them. One last thing though. Okay, so Chris Jericho, he says, "Come on, baby," sometimes. So I wonder if he's in a feud with Adam Cole ever, are they going to have a baby off? I'm not sure. Take care, everybody. Have a good day.